live trading journey. Uh, Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping tips. You might have an option to raise your hand. I probably won't see it. We've got a lot of people on this session this evening. As far as questions, I'll try to get to as many as possible. I know there's a ton. I'll cover them as we go along. Following this, we're also going to be publishing the FAQs that go into all of the details. We're going to be covering quite a bit at a high level tonight, but want to make it as worthwhile as possible. First thing I'd like to do is acknowledge uh, the patience you've had, how you've waited. We actually expected to get you all situated in your live accounts much quicker. I don't know who saw the video, and let me actually do a quick audio check real quick. Um, yeah, I'm going to get account specific questions. I'm not even going to touch yet. You can ask them, but we're going to cover all that in a bit. First, though, I want to acknowledge the patience you all have had with regard to waiting. I thought we were ready to go a few weeks ago. I don't know who caught the interview that Daryl and I did with Gates last week, but there was a bit of a holdup. For those of you that didn't see it, I can sum it up in two words and one name, a name you've probably heard, which is John Skelton. I've known John a long time, and he was not trying to hold anything up or be malicious, but he did have an agenda and something he wanted to see to actually make this special. We're going to talk a lot more about it. But what it was a way that we could actually take sim balances. So the things you've earned in your PA, even under the new program, we're seeing pretty big balances built in the PA accounts, but a way that we could transfer those into live and actually give you an opportunity to collect on those balances through performance in live. And so that's been a big part of the holdup. That actually threw a big monkey wrench in all of my plans. But I think overall, and I know overall, it's going to be for the benefit for a couple of reasons. And we're going to cover that um, in great detail. So with that, if you do hear me pause, it means I'm probably checking out the questions because we've already got a flurry coming in. I'll try to get those to all those. Take a break. Probably best if you do keep them succinct and not super long questions because I may not see them. Do want to make sure at the end I will have plenty of time to scroll through, get to those questions. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and we'll get this started. All right, so quick check. If you could just let me know if you've got this viewed up. You should be seeing a PowerPoint. It says welcome to live. And really, this is where your journey begins. We've got people that have been with Apex for, even a couple of years, some quite a bit sooner. It's an exciting time. I've been at Apex a couple of years. I'm going to get a bit into my background and why I wanted to head up this effort. And I think it's so important to actually start this journey. Trading is something I'm passionate about. It's something I've been doing a long time. I think it has qualities that bleed over not just to what you learn about trading, but what we learn about ourselves. And so what we're going to cover tonight, we're going to cover quite a few things. Actually, one, why does live trading matter? I've seen a lot of things. A lot of people don't want to go to live. They want to sit in the sim, and that's, to me, is just a huge mistake. We're going to cover that in depth, though, and we're going to talk a little bit about me, just so you know who I am. I'm going to be doing a lot of personal webinars, a lot of personal training with everybody in the live group. We're going to talk about the program. I already saw a bunch of questions coming out about the program. What does it mean? What are the details? What's my drawdown? We're going to get to all of that. We're going to talk a little bit about the onboarding paperwork, just so you know what to expect, because you are actually a part of the Apex team. You will be a 1099 contractor, part of the team, just like you would at any prop shop or market making firm. The program details, we'll get into the meat of all that, including how the vault works, why that's exciting, as well as the next steps, what's going to happen after this webinar tonight. And like I said, I'm going to try to get to all of the questions. Some I may have to follow up with after the webinar via email, or have the team reach out as well. On subsequent, I'm going to have the live training coordinators. This one I wanted to do first, address everybody personally. So one thing before we get going, this is always a required disclosure. As you can tell, if you've seen a lot of these, I'd like to keep mine simple. Trading involves risk. Now, in this case, you're risking Apex money. We're part of the team here. We're going to try to make sure you are as well equipped as possible to go into the live trading. When you're looking at your trades, past performance, things you did in sim, there's a transition to live. If you've never traded in the live markets before, there are variables. There are things like liquidity concerns, depending on time of day, depending on contracts traded. So some things you might have done in sim, we're going to work to transition so that you understand how those work. This is all for educational purpose right now. I'm not going to, first of all, I'll never give you any recommendations to buy or sell anything. Uh, what works for me may not work for all of you. All of us have our own strategies. The one thing we should all have in common is risk management. We're going to have multiple modules that you're going to be able to go through on the risk management side because it's something, I'll quote Amos Hofstadter, he was a famous trader. Take care of your losses and the profits take care of themselves. Something every trader should remember. It was something a mentor of mine told me way back in 2004. Hard to believe, 22 years ago. But that's enough about that. I'm going to give you a little bit. We all understand trading involves risk, right? Take that away. Risk is first and foremost. While this isn't your money or going to be, it's going to be your opportunity. And I want to ensure you have the best possibility of success. We can never guarantee success, but I've been trading for 29 years, and I do want to clarify something. I should say I started placing trades 29 years ago, actually, July of 1996, I believe was the first trade. It might have been August. Back in that day, stocks were traded in fractions. It's hard to believe it was that long ago. But I started placing trades. I can't say that I started trading because I thought I knew what I was doing. It was the tech bubble. Everything was going up. I was buying, thought I was the king. It wasn't until the tech bubble burst and I lost, wiped out, real money, absolutely wiped out, hung my head for a little bit, blamed the market, didn't take accountability, and luckily had some great mentors and friends that were professional traders that helped me along that. But I've been doing this actually trading for the better part of 25 years now, since 2001. I've been in the industry full time shortly after that for 22 years. Done a little bit of everything. I was on a trading desk for a while, so I worked as a market maker, spent a lot of years on the floor, and full disclaimer, not trading my own capital. Was actually in a different capacity on the floor. A lot of different world back then, different avenue. One of the exciting things about this day and age, if you wanted to start trading 20 years ago, even
Order
15 years ago,
canceled.
the tools weren't what they were, the accessibility wasn't what it was.
Order
But I worked
canceled.
as a broker, trading coach. I actually developed a couple of derivatives products. I don't know if anybody here ever traded Nadex, their call spread products, as well as their knockouts. Developed those derivatives products, ran a global FX exchange. The reason I bring all of this up is I've had access to data. I've had my own experience in trading and those I've shared, and I'm going to share a lot of stories as we do this. We're, by the way, going to have weekly meetups where we just talk about what's going on in the market, what people are seeing, where they're struggling with, what they'd like to work on. And there's also some pretty funny stories to share along the way. But one of the key things and things that has been very beneficial to me, it's actually one of the educational sessions I'm going to host, which is called How to Lose Money Trading. That was derived from the past 20 years and having access to data, things that most people don't have access to, where can look at success stories, but there's literally been hundreds of thousands of failures. And you can run the data, and most of those you can boil down to about eight or nine things that are human nature. Uh, and I can't say easily conquerable, but certainly things that can be overcome and things that you look. We're going to talk about probably book recommendations. We're going to have a wide variety of topics that we cover. But this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this, because I have seen people start out slow, face a lot of obstacles. One of the things I'm actually most excited about is the community we're going to create here. I think Gates said it. Actually, a lot of people may have more monitors than they do people to talk about trading. I don't know if anybody else's experiences it, but in our own lives, probably a lot of our family. close friends don't have a clue what we're talking about, right? Trading is challenging, it's lonely. And so developing this community is really important. And I think it should be important for all of us. Give me a moment here, just checking some questions. And yeah, a lot of these questions about if you came in late, I'm not going to answer any questions regarding the program until we get to actually that part of the program. But I do want to touch on what this is not. This is not an easy path. It's not going to be. Nothing in life is worthwhile. A lot of people have that vision of getting into trading, and they watch some guru who's done it. I've been around a long time, and I've met some of the greatest traders in the world, people that were in market wizards. Mark Douglas, who wrote a great book called Trading in the Zone. None of them had an easy path. People will promise you that it's easy, and I can guarantee they are lying to you. So I'm not going to say this is an easy path. Trading isn't. One of the things that's changed, though, is it is very accessible. It's become much more accessible than it ever has been. If you've traded stocks, I mean, 20 years ago or longer, you had to buy 100 lot of shares, right? It took real capital to get in. So I'm not going to promise an easy path. What I am going to promise, though, is a path, and we're going to work together to get there. This is not a get rich quick plan. If you have visions of making millions, maybe you will. The likelihood is not there. What we want to focus on is something for the long term, right? This isn't about getting rich quick. This is about growing, developing, and learning as we go along. What this program is, it's designed to provide that best possibility of long-term success. It's also something I want everybody to focus on. Why does everybody get into trading? And I've heard a myriad of answers, and probably the one I've heard from more beginners, but maybe possibly the worst answer is for the money. I want the money. If that's your only goal and desire, you might as well leave now. Just to put it bluntly. The reason for that is you need to have a bigger purpose. What are you going to do with that money? Define this for yourself. Define what your goals are. And the reason I say this is people that are in it for the money will be focused on the money, and they'll be over focused on their losses, probably taking profits too quick or not taking profits at all, letting the market go against them. When we focus on just the money, rather than having that long-term perspective or that value perspective of, hey, we're doing this to grow, right? One, personally, trading teaches us so many lessons that we can use day to day in our life, risk management being a huge one. Uh, but when we look at that, and next week, I'm going to go in a little bit about a trading plan, some things to consider. Now, don't get too fret. I'm not going to make anybody fill out a 20-page trading plan. I think those are ridiculous. What a trading plan should be, though, is something that adds value to it, something that makes that money real. There's a reason in Vegas they give you chips instead of money. Psychologically, it doesn't hold the value. Guess what? Money on a screen doesn't really hold that value either. And that's a simple fact of the matter. Money on a screen doesn't hold value. When you have a goal, when you have a purpose, when you have something tied to it, maybe that's family, maybe that's personal growth, maybe that's a person, maybe you want to climb Everest, whatever that is, tie something to it. And this will evolve. Trading plans will evolve. But one thing I want to stress is it's not about the money. Don't make it about the money. I'm going to try to work in as many trading lessons as possible as we go through this, just to share with everybody. Again, I've seen it way too many times where people jump in and they try to just bang, bang, bang away. One of the things I've already been asked probably 30 times on this webinar is, how many contracts can I trade? Don't worry about it. That is almost irrelevant. You need to be able to trade enough to make a little bit of money and start slow. I'm going to actually give you more than you should be trading, and I'm going to caution you not to do those. But look at it as personal growth. Take your time. The markets will be here. And that's one thing you don't need to make. It's amazing when you look at how money can become exponential when you take it slow. how $100 can be $200 and you can scale. But you always first need to not look how much money you can make, always look at your risk, right? Goes back to Amos Hofstadter, famous quote. Here's the key reasons to go live. And I've seen the comments, and it's not just with Apex, it's with any firm. They're like, why do I have to go live? I want to stay in sim. There's some reasons not to do that. One, it's the next logical progression. 20 years ago, there wasn't this opportunity to actually get a simulated environment that you could potentially get rewards out of. It's a relatively new concept in the history of the markets. You basically had to previously jump in and swim with the sharks with your own capital. When I looked at this, and we've been actually pushing people to live, we had people trading live when I got here, which was early 2024. But it wasn't a main part of the program. And one of the reasons was, people didn't want it. That's what I was told. But it is a logical progression because we're not in it for today and tomorrow. Now, there's still a great opportunity. We all have the opportunity to make plenty of money in simulated, but we need to progress from that for the industry, for the growth, not just for Apex. Ask any firm out there. And one of the reasons we do this is, why did you get into trading? Again, I'll go back to the money, but I'll probably sum it up more into that one phrase, freedom, right? Trading offers a lot of freedom. It can help us break away from that 9 to 5. It can give us the opportunity to do what we want when we want, to trade where we want to trade from, right? That's one of the key things of life. That's a beautiful life. I know a lot of people that trade 1 hour a day and then the rest of the day is theirs. If they've got young kids, they can spend the time with their kids. I think probably a lot of us, and I don't know everybody's ages. By the number of people, we have people from all age ranges, probably people similar to my age. They were in similar situations. Both of their parents had jobs, didn't get to spend a lot of time during the day, probably wish they could. Well, if you're in that situation as that parent, this might be that freedom. And again, there's no guarantees. It takes a lot of work, but that freedom, and on that point, if that's what you got into trading for, right? Whether that be monetary freedom, time freedom, whatever freedom means to you, why would you want to be dependent on a firm like Apex forever, right? Changing regulation, right? It's going to happen at some point. What we know as what people call, and in my mind, erroneously have called prop trading, because it's not, because it has nothing to do with proprietary trading in the sense of how true prop firms, and I've worked around some of the world's largest, they've been my clients, right? There will be a changing shift. There could quite possibly be rules that you can no longer get paid out of sim. So if you're actually looking for true freedom to get away from that, why would you forever want to be dependent? You've got to take that leap at some point. And the only way you're going to do that is to transition into live. And it's better, trust me, I've seen the road. It's better to do that with somebody else's money. So you're given a great opportunity here. And that's one thing I want to stress. We don't know where regulation is going to head. I was in the FX market early 2000s when it was very unregulated. There were about 76, I'd say, brokers in the United States at that time. Regulation hit, and there were about 5 left, maybe 6. There was one after that. Regulation hit, changed the whole shape of what was offered. I fully expect that to happen. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you exactly how that's going to take place. I hope that firms like Apex and even our competitors can help shape that regulation into sensible regulation, but it will come at some point. And that's the biggest point here. We want to set you up, and I'll use this phrase because a lot of people talk about trading for a living. I want you to be able to trade for life. That's the absolute key, right? And that freedom means not being dependent on anyone else. And this is the next logical progression. This is that next step that you take. And maybe you trade prop with us for a year. Build up your nest egg, but not just build up your nest egg, build up your confidence, build up your faith in what you do when you go live on your own, that you're so well equipped that that's what you can do, whether that be full time, if that's your goal, or whether it's a supplemental thing, or maybe you're already retired and you just want a little extra, but you want something where you can travel and still make some income. Or maybe you just want to stay at home, whatever those goals are, that's what that freedom is about, whatever it means to you. So that's that's why live to me is so important because I don't want people sitting in sim and then have it taken away from them and they go, wow, I did really well in sim for a couple of years, but now it's gone. What do I do now? And then you get thrown into something you're not prepared for. I kind of hit on this trading for a living versus trading for life. Trading is a great thing. It doesn't require a lot of physical ability, almost none. And actually, as far as I know, a lot of people I've heard this, they're always like, oh, I don't really feel smart enough to trade live. I don't feel like I'm equipped for that. Well, one of the purposes of this program is to actually equip you. We're not just throwing you into an account and saying go trade and giving you the set of rules and saying go trade. We want to help develop you. We want to help grow. And that's really where that trading for life comes in. Because whether you are successful, some of the greatest benefits, I've met people that were in my coaching program 20 years ago that literally they're not trading to this day, but they're thankful for trading for what they learned. And they learned it wasn't for them, but they learned a lot of valuable lessons. They learned discipline, they learned patience, they learned how routines can be freeing and not just a cage. These are things that I think trading offers, and it's for life. So that's also something to consider when you've had a couple of trades going against you. Look at the long term. It'll help resolve all that revenge trading nonsense that a lot of people do. We have benefits beyond trading. So, and I know a lot of people are still pinging me about the what the program looks like. So here's the first thing we're going to go over. We're going to go over some of the courses that we're going to be offering. Well, welcome to take part in them. I highly encourage it. I can tell you that there is a vast or strong correlation. I've seen historically, I've been giving webinars again 20 years plus since the early days actually of the internet, and it was a lot tougher to do them back then. Bandwidth restrictions and whatever, people using dial-ups at sometimes to try to watch a webinar. Got it pretty good these days across platforms, across anything we need as far as trading, access to knowledge. So, but the correlation is absolutely people that take time and devote the time to actually learn, study, and practice have a much higher probability of success. Uh, Many of you are familiar with the other company Daryl started, Apex Investing Institute. I met Daryl and John both actually because they were clients of mine, and technically I was a client of theirs. I worked with their education firm, and I could show statistically, which I often did to my board at the exchange, regarding a relationship that people that took part in their education had a much higher success rate and a much greater longevity in trading. So I encourage everybody to take this. Now, there are going to be a couple. It's a multi-part curriculum that we're going to provide you. You're not going to have to pass all this before you start trading live, but there is one that I want to stress because it's boring. It'll be boring for everybody, but it's quick. It doesn't take long. Chicago Mercantile Exchange has exchange rules and regulations. You didn't have to worry about those in the simulated environment. In live, you do. There are things like spoofing. There are various trade practices that are prohibited. These are various things. To my knowledge, I don't know any other firm that's really covering these and actually doing a knowledge check. You will get a short quiz and access to CME videos. We could have created them ourselves. I think it's very important due to the nature of this that we actually used the CME modules to ensure accuracy and that they were explained exactly how they wanted explained. Why this is important. While we're not regulated by the SEC, the futures industry is not. It's CFTC, Commodity Futures Trading Commission. SEC and CFTC often follow suit with each other. And they have the same goals because the same things happen in stocks as what happened, and they have the obligations to protect their individuals. SEC came out in at the end of 2025 and said one of their focuses is pursuing individuals for trade infractions, specifically naming spoofing. CFTC has had multiple cases of individuals that have violated exchange rules, and it can be pretty serious fines. Now, it's rare that anybody ends up in prison. To my knowledge, there's only been one case where somebody violated exchange rules over an extended period of time, and I believe they had something like 9 months. That's very rare. But what's not rare is pretty hefty fines. I was personally involved with one when I was at the exchange where the guy I think has had to pay back 1.6 million and was banned from trading for 5 years. So it gets very serious. There's also, because of that, there's going to be a zero tolerance policy. I did have spoofing cases where the people didn't even know they were spoofing. Talk to them about their patterns, why that was what it was, and they stopped. But had they continued, and so I want people to be aware because we're trying to build success. The worst thing that could happen though is before you get an opportunity to be successful, you break a rule that you didn't know existed. So we're going to spend a bit of time, and I really want to stress this. I want to harp on this. This is why it's important. And so we're going to do a knowledge check on that. These other ones, though, we're going to be talking about transitioning sim to live. If people haven't traded live, there are things that don't happen in sim. Sim is automated fills, no liquidity concerns, no slippage for the most part. Some people can say they got slipped, but not in the way the true market does, which is quite common, actually. Um, Things like that, making that transition as easy as possible, and so that you understand and have the best possibility of success. We've got modules created on trading psychology, risk management, many others. These are going to be available to you uh, to learn and grow. We didn't just want to throw you into live and say, "Hey, good luck, go at it, go out, Google search it, go pick your favorite search engine, and look up what you need to do here." Ongoing free form check-ins. Now, this is going to be probably every couple of weeks, in addition to the weekly modules we'll have. It'll be myself as well as a few others, but just free form check-ins where we sit down and ask questions with each other, find out where the struggles are, because I can guarantee where one person is struggling, many others are struggling as well. And not everybody, that's where like a classroom type setting is so important. When it's individual one-on-one, there are questions people won't even think to ask. Somebody else will ask them and they'll go, "Oh, that's a great question. I hadn't considered that." Or they're too shy to ask the question and they really want somebody else to do it. And so it gives a good opportunity just to check in with each other, see, and we can talk about the markets. It should be fun. It should be enjoyable. I take it very seriously. Hopefully you can tell that. But it should be enjoyable. One thing trading should never be, and I'm going to talk a lot more about this, trading should never be exciting. This was something one of my first mentors told to me, and I'm not going to use all the language that he used. I was actually in a group setting, and somebody made a comment that he had the most exciting job in the world. And in no uncertain terms, he said, if you're trading and you're excited, if your heart's racing and your palms are sweating, you're doing it wrong. We're going to talk a lot about those types of attitudes and those things in these check-ins. We're going to have a lot of special guest speakers come in, a lot of really well-known traders, but beyond that, trading is about life. And it's about that opportunity that life brings. We want to equip you for that. Things that aren't taught in college or school. There are now actually these days a lot more college curriculum. I've actually helped develop some of it at various universities for trading and trading how you trade futures, which didn't exist a while back. But guest speakers talking about things like how do you take short-term trading gains and move them to long-term assets, things like that. Beyond trading, beyond that, what we want to create is actually an education so people can grow, not just in monetary again, but in provide value, things that they can use for their life. So I'm going to take a quick pause here because I have, I don't know how many questions in the queue. Um, a lot of them look like I'll be covering here very soon. Actually, one I want to hit on real quick before I get into the plan because this is the best question I expected tonight. Will we get criticized for trading one micro for 6 months to a year? Is there a situation where you guys want to see more money made within a certain time frame? I am so happy at this question because this actually tells me it's somebody who will probably make it long term as a trader. A lot of other questions I've said is how many contracts can we trade? How can we go? The best thing you can do is start out very slow. There is no requirement to go in and make a ton of money or any money. Um, there should be some activity because one thing I don't want to see is somebody who's scared to pull the trigger. But if there's one trade a month And you want to talk about that on the one-on-ones. I've got analysis paralysis. That's a real problem. I've seen it happen at all levels. I've seen people that were um, actually excellent traders for themselves, and then they tried to go in and trade, manage other people's money. And the responsibility with other people's money was actually to them much more difficult to manage than their own. And it absolutely crushed them psychologically. We're not going to put any pressure on you to trade. Actually, over trading is one of the things that I stress in the How to Lose Money module, right? And the reason I call it How to Lose Money Trading is that the greatest traders I know, one thing they're really good at, and that's how to lose money. Because when they lose money, they accept it as part of what they're doing. They understand the risk, they manage it, and it's no big deal. There is absolutely a right way to lose money, and we should look at it as how do we lose money sensibly? Because again, Amos Hofstadter, I'm going to continue to quote, and I repeat a lot of things I think that are important. Take care of your losses and the profits take care of yourself. This is a great question. There is no pressure to get in and trade. Actually, the opposite is encouraged. This is our money. We have a vested, we're partners in this. We want to see you successful. To some people, that'll be 5 trades a day. That's what they're comfortable with. They've got their system down and they see the opportunity. Maybe they've already got the discipline. For some people, that'll be 1 trade a week. For others, they might be a bit hesitant to get in and even risk anything. And they want to take a look at it and study and wait for the right opportunity to dip into the pool for the first time. That to me is an awesome, awesome question. Probably one of the best ones I've received, and I mean this seriously, in a long time doing this. Um, let's see, lots of questions regarding, yeah, sorry, a lot of questions. I'm going to try to answer them in bulk, um, into it. All right. I think a lot of these, oh, here's one. I mentioned a trading plan. I don't need to know your trading plan. If you want to share it with me, I'm going to make that offer to everyone. Um, and yes, and we're going to be getting into the actual plan for the things real quick. But I do think this is um, pretty important. If you do want to share your live trading plan with me, I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that. Uh, One thing I'll caution, I keep it simple. I had a guy one time who was taking part in my coaching program, which was about $500 a month back in 2005, 2006. Um, it took him 7 months to get me his trading plan. When he finally submitted it, I swear it was 170 pages. It had contingency on contingencies. No one can live with that. I don't want rules for every single trade you place. If you want that, that's great. This is your personal plan. What I'm going to give you is a basic framework for what that should look like. But I am happy to review it, and we can talk about these when we do the group sessions. But I know a lot of people are anxious, so let's get started um, on the account parameters. So everybody's going to start out with one live trading account with enhanced scaling. There will be an opportunity. You'll be able to trade up to 10 minis, 100 micros on most contracts. Not everything has a direct 10-to-1 correlation. I'm going to caution everybody, hopefully you understood. I don't encourage anybody to trade the larger contract size. I kind of got pushback on this, and I understand why. Some people actually trade very short term, and they want to be able to trade more contracts because they've already been working at it a while and might only be taking a few ticks risk. They're very quick. Um, I'm personally not a huge fan of scalping. I haven't seen it be successful over the long term. That's not to say that it's not viable because some people have. It just hasn't been mine. So the ability to scale up is there. And we're going to talk about what happens if that one account doesn't work out. So we're going to get to that to just a moment. Um, so one account going to start out 10 minis, 100 micros. Again, there'll be some variances. We're going to send around a packet that has all the frequently asked questions after this because I can already tell you I won't be able to get to all of them. But it'll also have in the scaling procedures once you get to profitability. One of the things I do want to talk about real quick with scaling, again, a lot of this is going to be covered later. When you're scaling, and let's say you're going from two contracts, go from two to three to four to five to six, do it in order. Another piece of great advice I got, a lot of times we get excited or we had a big day, and so we go, oh, wow, I just doubled my money. I'm going to go from two contracts to four to eight. It's a huge mistake. Always go incrementally when you're scaling up. The initial starting level is $3,000 risk. So that will be your drawdown. So you'll look at a $0 balance with $3,000 in drawdown. Again, the idea is to start slow. And we're going to show you how starting slow, and I'm going to get to how sim balances, some of you have already heard a little bit about that, how they move to help increase. There's no daily loss limits. I'm going to encourage everybody to put their own on, not mechanically, but understand, and dip your toes in slow. Everybody gets very excited. Looking at the long term here. One of the reasons why, and a lot of people say, well, why is there only a $3,000 loss limit? I wanted $20,000. I can tell you from experience, whether it be $3,000 or $20,000, people will lose it rapidly. In a lot of cases, if that's the attitude. So it's actually pretty solid risk level to move forward with. Again, we're looking at people that are interested in the long term and want to take it slow and build this, because once you get to the profit and your confidence, it scales quickly from there, and it doesn't take long to get there. It is a 90-10 profit split. So you request $10,000 payout, you get 9,000 of that. And we have our 10% for putting up the money. So it's of the programs I've seen, it's at the top end of the generous for what the split is. It's actually tied with the highest. There are a couple out there that have that. Some have 80-20. It does get a little bit better though, in my mind. So once the minimum is hit, there will be daily payout requests. It's a minimum of $500. You have to hit the threshold to get that, but daily payout requests, again, that's offered. A lot of the things that are offered, I actually recommend people not take advantage of. One thing I'll mention, and this is a plan when you're trading your own money or you're trading with Apex money. Set a goal. So let's say your goal is to get to $5,000. I would absolutely take a payout. One, because you have to make that money real. I've talked about this with some of the greatest traders in the world. And nobody, to my knowledge, has ever consistently like 5x accounts without taking something out. All of a sudden the losses and it drops way down. The reason being, so when you're looking at taking payouts, what I'd recommend, again, because we're looking at the long term, and I don't know everybody's situation, but let's say you get to 5,000, have this as part of your trading plan and stick to it. Let's say, hey, at 5,000, I'm going to take some money out. Maybe it's $1,000. Right? Okay. I got to 5,100. I took out a couple of thousands. Now I'm sitting at 3,100. Have another plan. Maybe you lose like 500. You go, you know what? I'm going to stop. I'm going to reassess these trades. We should always be learning about our losses. But let's say then you build it up to 10,000 and there's some different scaling levels. And maybe, yeah, you want to go to more contracts. I'd advise, you know what? Maybe take 2,000 out. Continue to grow that account. This is the long term. You should be looking at the nest egg that a year from now you're saying, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want funded in my own live account. All right. Here's something, and I'm going to highlight it. I was hoping to play the video for you regarding the bonus vault. This is where your sim balances will actually be moved to live. There's a couple of reasons for this. So it's not put in your account. This is your bonus vault. This is your escrow account, if you will, where on top of when you do a payout request, we'll add 20% out of your vault to that payout request. So in live, if that previous example I used, you say, hey, I'm requesting 10,000. Okay, you get the 9,000, but then we're going to take, if you've got 20,000, 30,000, 100,000 sitting in your payout vault, we're going to take 20% of your live payout request and add it to that. So instead of you getting the 9,000, you actually get 11,000 in that example. And so we'll continue to do that. This is important. And this is the thing John was pushing for, where I was like, dude, it's sim money. It's not even real money. Why are we doing this? And he actually convinced me when he said this. Psychologically, it actually gives a bit of a booster. People can look longer term at it. There's something to shoot for. It also, in the earlier days, maybe as you're growing that account, it actually boosts that money a bit. And so while I was initially reluctant, one, because I was like, I don't even know how to implement this, I actually agreed with him from a psychological perspective, from keeping people. It gives bonus. It helps that money grow a bit faster. It also means the stuff that you um, earned in sim isn't just going to be taken away. To my knowledge, we're the only ones doing this. Everybody else just says, okay, you're done with sim. Here you go to live, and you're just pushed to live and say good luck. And we know how that. So the bonus vault, I think, is very exciting in that respect because you're not just going to lose it, right? You're going to actually have an opportunity, and it's an incentive to trade live sensibly because we're a team on this. This is absolutely a team. A lot of people doubt whether this model can work. I actually firmly believe it can because when people are dedicated, when people look at the long term and they're actually given the opportunity and given the opportunity to have some mentorship and outlets in community, I think this is a strong program and will truly be prop trading for the future. Now, one of the things mentioned a live trading account. What happens if I fail the first time? So there will be an opportunity. The money stays in the vault. There'll be a second chance opportunity. Now, there'll be a little bit of a cooling off period, 14 days, where it cool off. I'd recommend during that time, and you'll still be able to take part. You'll have access. I'll make sure you're invited to our webinars, Keep Learning. It's basically an eval to live program. So you don't have to go through the whole process again, but there'll be targets you hit and go, okay, we want you to do this, but you know what? Take a couple weeks off, analyze your trades, what you did, come back in on an eval to live, come back in, your vault is still there. Got another opportunity. The lessons are learned, and rather than just trying to give, and yeah, I see a lot of comments. Other people are giving you 5 accounts. Let me address that. Um, and I see the comments on why. So a lot of people want to use a trade copier in live trading, um, which doesn't make any sense at all. It works in sim, and one of the reasons why at Apex we start people can have up to 20 accounts. That is actually to build that nest egg, so to speak. You can also get, you know, a bigger chunk if you're copy trading those 5 accounts or 10 accounts or 20 accounts. Copy trading makes sense because of the way fills work in the simulated environment, which are pretty much automatic. Your trades all hit the book, they're all filled. In a live environment, 5 accounts don't work that way. It's actually a detriment. You actually have 5 different orders hitting the order book at a different time. In a thin market, or even in a lot of markets, you're not going to get those fills, particularly if you're trading quite a few contracts. I'm not even a huge options trader. I mean, I love to trade options, but even a 5 lot or a 10 lot on something like the Qs doesn't get filled right away. It's actually filled in two. And so if you're using a trade copier across multiple accounts in live, you're not going to get the fills. It's actually going to be to the detriment. It'd be better instead of doing 5 1 lots across 5 accounts. It'd be so much better to do um, 1 5 lot because you're probably going to get that 5 lot filled in one. But if you're hitting it 1 1 1, you're probably going to get different prices going to move on you and they're not going to fill. Again, if you're trying to trade 10 lots, depending on the market you're trading, and this is where liquidity comes in live, it doesn't matter if you have 5 or if you have 1 account. I'd rather consolidate that so you have one risk level. You can track that one risk level because when losses come, and psychologically you might say, well, yeah, but if I lose $200 across 5, that doesn't feel like losing 1,000. I don't, that's terrible. I want you to feel like you lost 1,000 if that's what you lost. You need to understand the reality of it. Right. So what is good for sim and works for sim doesn't work. And that's the reason we're starting out at one live trading account. but allowing you to come back in, not going through the full process again, but allowing to come back in. And so that's what happens if you fail the first time. You get a second opportunity, and then you get a third opportunity. There's a potential for a fourth opportunity. That's one though where we really got to review and say, okay, you've had three opportunities. Depending on the circumstance, depending on the conversation, there may be an opportunity for a fourth or a fifth. No guarantees, but those will be handled on a case by case basis. But it's not a matter of, hey, just one and done. And no, you don't have to go through the whole process again. You'll be able to have additional opportunities on an eval, basically an eval to live um, program. So from here, you're going to be getting your onboarding paperwork. We're going to be sending this out in groups. People are going to have questions about it. Along with that, you're going to get your packet that shows, or actually the form itself. It's going to be done in a little bit of a phased approach. It's going to go pretty quickly. Just want to make sure everybody can handle it. So, and do what they do. But when you get, you're going to have, let's say, a POA form that'll need to be taken care of, which is part of the brokerage form. Makes you an authorized trader on the Apex Trader Funding account. You'll need to have a live trading agreement, which will be taken care of. Oop, skipped a bit ahead. There's going to be a quiz on very short. You're not going to have a 100-question test on exchange rules and regulations, but I do want to make sure everybody understands what spoofing is because and other trade violations because I don't want anybody getting into trouble needlessly for something that will take a total of probably 22 minutes. It's just worth it to get it done first. So the onboarding steps will be taken uh, in sequence. You'll have to do the if we have to verify identity. That's a brokerage requirement. That's not an Apex requirement. Really want you to take part in all of the educational opportunities we're going to throw your way. And these are going to take different shapes, sizes. Like I said, there are going to be predefined modules that'll be distributed. The CME education, which is going to be distributed, it'll be in your dashboard. I think very quickly as we're doing the onboarding, where you'll be able to take part in that and then do a quick quiz, get that checked off on. It'll be a quick path to get into live account. If you don't want to trade immediately and you want to wait, I'd certainly, my next module is going to be on the transition and some things you should understand. So if you want to wait, even once you get your live account assigned, I encourage people to wait. Patience is going to be a blessing here, not just a virtue, but an absolute blessing as you get onboarded and you take it in time. Mostly, I really encourage everybody to take it seriously. I'm very serious about live trading. I've seen it all. I've heard every excuse, probably. I can't say every, but I'm very serious about how people take it serious and how they look to get into this. But I want you to enjoy it. It should be fun. We're going to share some great stories. I've got a story that I'm going to share with everybody on risk management and not trading crazy about a friend of mine who actually strapped a dog shock collar to his leg and zapped himself when he was trading stupid. So there's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of good stories. I'm going to take a pause here and try to get, some great. I'm going to try to get most of this out. Like I said, it's going to be a phased approach because we've got lots of people. Yes, recordings of this will be available. We're going to make that. Yes. So once you go to live, once you're assigned to live, um, and again, there might be some things because I see some people said, "Hey, I just passed an eval today," but if you've already been pushed to live, that eval should have actually been closed. PA's evals typically get closed when you get moved to live. So we'll have to take a look at that. So no, there is no fee. There's no fee for the live account. You don't have to pay an activation fee. Um, this is not something you've already done that. If you've gone through the eval process, the PA process, you've been assigned live. There's not a subscription fee for the program itself. we're covering first month of market data fees. Um, does the live, the one, as far as inactivity, one trade per month. The reason for that is if you're not trading, those fees are going to add up really quick for that. And also, one of the things I'd be concerned about if somebody, while I don't want anybody in there over trading or trading beyond what they're comfortable with, it, I'd have serious questions if you come in and you go, I'm too shy to trade. If that's the case, I may even actually call you personally and not give you a recommendation, but talk to you in one of your sessions and say, what are you seeing? How do you feel? Because then there's something more going on. If you can't pull the trigger in 30 days, because there's plenty of opportunities in day trading. Yes, all positions need to be closed out um, before 450. One thing on the wealth charts, because I see that question in Rhythmic, I'm working on that solution right now. That should be up and running. Currently, it's Tradeovate Ninja or any of the platforms that are connected with Ninja. But looking to get those up and running also very soon. Uh, let's see. All right, there are. So again, money. I see a lot of questions on the money from the PA accounts going in. Uh, that actually gets vaulted. So what you had on that, whatever wasn't withdrawn, that gets put into the vault. So you can actually earn that as a bonus when you get in. Other firms, it is just going to be taken away. Wanted to make sure, and I agree, psychologically, I think this is a really good plan. Um, so here's a question. So regarding trade copying and what I said, even if you have live accounts, either your own or someone else's, I'd be very, or at another firm, I'd be very cautious about trade copying. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I would caution very severely though, particularly at two different firms. Like orders are routed. You're not going to a simulated environment. Like for instance, if somebody was in a Tradeovate account and you're in a simulated environment, you're sitting on one server that's basically just connected right there. And it's just going to go, oh, I'm just going to fill all these. If you're trading on two or three different platforms and you have a copier that connects all of those, one, it's going to hit all those servers separately. Those servers are then going to have to send it over a network such as Rhythmic or CQG, which then is going to have to hit the order book at the exchange. It's not like SIM. I'm not going to tell you not to do it. You can test it. I would test it small. I wouldn't go in big if you're going to test it. If you're happy with it, I'm happy with it. But again, it's a risk I wouldn't want to take. I'd rather focus, and that's one of the things. Rather than focusing on multiple accounts and trying to get in there, one because we know that the trade copier doesn't work, and will not work the same in live. I rarely make guarantees. I can say I can guarantee that there's no guarantee it will. It might 99% of the time, but what about that 1% of the time that it doesn't? What are the losses? What are the risks in a fast market? That's where I'd be very cautious. From a focus perspective, you should be focused on that one platform. Again, you want to use the trade copier, you can. No, the margin requirements. So your accounts are based on risk. So you are not looking at what would be the margin requirement, which is why we can scale up those contract sizes faster. Question is, I had 20 PA accounts. Why can't I have 20 live accounts? Well, one, that would be illegal. I don't even think, I don't believe a brokerage would ever allow that. I can't say that it would be illegal. I don't know of anyone that would allow that. As a matter of fact, the exchange, the regulated exchange I worked with, I had that question a lot of times. Why can't I have multiple accounts? It was one. Having two accounts, actually, there's potential for wash trades. There are systems built to help protect against that, but again, systems aren't perfect. You have multiple accounts, you could wash against yourself if you're working a limit order. That would be a violation. the 20 accounts that you did in Sim, that was really to build up, give you an opportunity to make money. Also, a first step in taking a look at in Sim, taking that risk and going, okay, I made a little bit, I didn't. It's a nice stepping stone psychologically to not looking at that. This is the big leagues now. You need to understand ramifications when you take the risk. And that's as simple as I can put it in that respect. When do we have access to the vault? So the vault is there immediately. So when you hit, when you get to that payout level, let's say you take $1,000 out when you get up to, now let's throw out numbers, 5,000, you want to take out 1,000, that vault will be active from your first payout. So it's not a matter of access to it. Here's a question about swing trading. At this point, you will not be able to swing trade. All trades need to be closed by 450. And the reason is, while you're on a risk rather than margined basis, um, the exchange margin goes up dramatically over the close period. I think most of you are familiar with that. The benefit of doing the risk basis, if we wanted to switch it to a margin, it would require a whole lot of more to even keep everybody involved in this and to allow those. So on the margin basis, the exchanges, we can't allow them open from 4 to 5. Something we may look at somewhere down the future as this program grows, but right now, just because of the risk involved over market closed, probably not beneficial for anybody to be holding over that. Particularly, and then the reason of the 450 for me personally is the Friday. It's good discipline to make sure all of your trades are closed. I've personally been in plenty of times where I screwed up, got called away, whatever the case, and I had to sweat out the weekends. Um, yeah, I mean, one of the things too, and everybody's looking at the scaling accounts or the accounts. It is the fastest scaling. It's only going to take you a little bit of time to prove, not just to us, but to yourself, how quickly you can scale this. Again, though, start it out slow, scale it up. You're going to be able to go from 10 contracts to 15 to 20 to 25 very quickly. Let's see. All right, going through here. Is it mandatory to go through the modules and courses? The only one I'm going to make mandatory is the one that's on the regulatory aspect. And again, quick courses. I think there's 6 2-minute modules roughly, and probably a 10-question quiz. So maybe if you're slow or get called away or sipping on coffee or whatever, might take 22 minutes to go through that. Other than that, though, I definitely encourage you to join. Uh, here's a question that I may have to go. So a lot of stuff on the Apex side, I don't necessarily have privy to. But as far as the question, as far as a closed trade in a sim account, but then move to live, that account is closed. So I would presume if the trade lost, that account is done. It's not going to be impact your live. I know there's multiple qualifications that they use to move somebody live. Whether it be how, profitability in sim, how many accounts to get to profitability, how quickly that happens, strategies, consistencies. There are a lot of variables that can be done. Yeah. Again, one of the things I want to hit on is the scaling, the growth. Take it slow, but the opportunity is there. I know everybody's anxious to get in. This is not a get rich quick scheme, nor should it ever be. It's something serious. And just like anything in life, right? Uh, Pro sports, right? If a little leaguer just jumped in against a pro pitcher, they're not going to do very well. And that's what literally a lot of times we try to do in trading. We're going against the big market making firms. We're going in against professionals. We want to put you in the best possible light to do that. And as you grow that account and grow that confidence, it scales extremely rapidly. 10 accounts, 20, excuse me, 10 contracts, 20 contracts, but get there first. Yes. The question was if a payout was approved. Yes, I believe those payouts are separate from getting moved to live. That account would be closed, but if that is approved, it should be on its way. Yes, there will be that path. The second chance account. So the question is, if I fail in live, so there will be the second chance. It'll be an eval. Uh, it will be a paid product to come back in after a 14-day period, but it's basically the escalated um, or more rapid path. You don't have to go back through eval PA. It'll be a specific eval to live. Which instruments can be traded? Almost all of the instruments that are available, all of the majors are available. There are a few. Um, I believe one was lean cattle, or corn, in certain sizes that you can't trade in the live, and the reason being there's like zero liquidity. Um, there's when I did the volume analysis, I think. And it wasn't corn. That trades a bit more, but some of the mini contracts and some of the ag products traded like 300 contracts a day. Not enough liquidity. And when you looked at the market, there were gaps all over the place. So we want to make it sensible. One, you should only be trading high liquidity instruments anyway. Otherwise, there's just too much of a chance for disaster because price will gap in big chunks. So what we want to do is focus on the high liquidity markets. Obviously, indices are a great one. Looking at what most people are trading, based on the numbers, I'd say 90% of the people are trading the liquidity. Oh, so here's one. So anything that happened really in the PA where the is it, that's happened. That is separate other than the bonus vault. And that bonus vault again is take your sim balances that haven't been withdrawn, put in that vault. When you request a withdrawal, you'll get a 20% of that withdrawal as a bonus while you have funds left in that vault. So if you moved $20,000 to that vault and you take a $10,000 payout, right? You get the 90% of that, that's $9,000, but 20% of the requested of the $10,000, so that's another $2,000. So that's $11,000 in that payout. Your vault goes from $20,000 is reduced by two down to $18,000. As you scale and as you grow this account, the bonus can be more as you take it out. That 20% obviously gets larger. And that's the important part about scaling. I would recommend scaling slow. So in this case in the live, um, there is not the daily loss limit. So if you lose $500 in a day, that's not a loss limit in the live. Got $3,000 in risk to manage. So it's not like intraday or end of day. Like that's your account. I do recommend each person individually, whatever your risk profile is for how you trade, determine what that is. Yeah. Again, you can scale up very, very quickly, but it's based on your performance. Um, that's why I say start out slow because it doesn't take a lot of capital to scale very quickly. The first threshold, I believe, is $10,000. You've already got a generous number of contracts to trade in this one contract, in this one account. But when that bumps to 25, you can scale the size quickly. It's important. Build the confidence first. Build the confidence. Understand the differences. If you've never traded live, approach it slow. Once you get a little bit of confidence, you can build it really rapidly. And that's the important part of the program. I think I have hit all of, or at least most of the question. We have a lot of people on here, so there are undoubtedly some I missed. We will have, like I say, an FAQ being distributed very quickly, as well as posted to the website, which anything I missed should be answered in there. Uh, our email address is apexlive@apextraderfunding.com. Uh, so I believe though we've hit the questions in the group here, and I see we've run a bit over time. So I am so happy everybody could join us this evening. It's so important. Like I said, this is a journey. We're moving on this together. You're now part of the Apex family. It's important, one, and in the community, I'm going to ask everybody as we're doing these, nobody has a dumb idea. Treat everybody with respect. Treat everybody because we're all here to help. Because this is about a lifetime. This isn't just about tomorrow or 2 weeks. You want to treat it like that, and I've seen it a lot of times. People do, and they're around for as long as they expect. But if you take it slow, you can scale up. The markets will be there. And that's the important thing. Treat it like trading for life. With that, I'm looking forward to everybody else. You'll see some stuff coming across through your notifications and email very soon. Hope everybody has a wonderful evening and look forward to speaking with you all very soon. Thank you.